YouTube, welcome back to Cassandra's Kitchen, where I eat to live and I live to eat. Today I just decided to get up early this morning and make an apple pie. It's the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July everyone. So I decided to get up and make an apple pie for my family. I'm like, you know what the heck, I might as well put this on video. So here we're gonna do an apple pie, quick, easy, vegan, of course. It's delicious, so you want to see how I make this delicious apple pie? Stay tuned and I'll show you. So this is a little sidebar to my video. Just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. He is actually cleaning my apples. I'm making the pie today, so we're using the organic Gala apples. So he is actually going to slice them up for me. Say hi, honey.
Hey.
So that's why I really appreciate him, and that's why he always gets to do the taste test, because he's such a big help in Cassandra's kitchen. Love you, honey.
Love you too, baby. All right.
Okay. So I just want to sneak back in here and see what you're doing a little closer. So how do you do your apples? Once you peel them, what do you do?
Well, I use an apple slicer. This little red apple slicer right here, you see?
Yep.
I think it slices like, I don't know, 8 pieces of apple when you do this. But you got to be careful because these little things right here, these little blade things, they are very sharp. So you have to be careful when you do this. And make sure that you got your apple centered on this little center hole right here. You see right here?
I see.
So
I'm gonna zoom in.
we're gonna slice it. Just by adding a little force, kind of work it on there, like that, as you see. See that?
Oh, okay.
And then we're just gonna push down. And there we have an apple slice.
Voila.
Voila.
So you peel the apples first.
Right, and then you just take this little piece out. You just wiggle that out of there, and there you have your sliced apples.
So do you make them thinner?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we do. Unless you like your apples thick or whatever, normally, for apple pies or something, I'll take it and I'll make them just a little bit thinner. But these are pretty thick.
Cut them down the middle.
So we'll just cut them down the middle, slice them up like so. Just like that.
We actually cut more than enough because I put the apple pies in my pie crust, and we cut a little more. So typically for that pie crust, I would say a good 7 to 8 apples, medium-sized apples. So we did a little more. So we're gonna have a happy neighbor today.
Right. So and sometimes too, when you're doing this, right, they have like the little gristle part in there of the apple. So sometimes you have to take
part of the core.
Yeah, the core of the apple, like that. You see that? Sometimes you might want to take that out because
if it's hard.
Me personally, I don't like it in my apple pie because it's hard. So I just get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to be crunching on nothing that's tough and like a gristle or something in there. So I always eliminate those, take those out like that.
So that's just where the core, the apple was probably not even when you sliced it, and that part of that core.
Pretty much.
Okay.
You just take it out because you can see it in there, see the little line in there, because right there, that's just like the core of the apple where the seed was and all that. Sometimes you have to cut that out because if you don't, when you make your apple pie, you wonder what you trying to chew on inside of it. That's what you're chewing on. You're chewing on the core of that right there.
Okay.
So even though the seeds are out, when you do the slicer or whatever, but yet still you have to kind of get those cores out because me personally, like I said, I don't like them in there. So that's why I do what I do.
Well, I like it. I like what you do when you do what you do.
Right.
So thank you again, my husband. We will be back on here to show you the steps to making our apple pie. Yes. All right, guys, so we're going to make our dough first, and I have a little bit of mess going on because I had already pre-made one, so it'll be ready because we want to let our dough rest for about an hour. So what we need to get our dough started is flour, and I'm using white spelt flour. So we want to get 2 cups of white spelt. And I'm using my dough mixer for my Ninja here. This is a Ninja I have. We want 2 cups of flour. We want, okay, wrong sugar. We want a tablespoon of sugar, and I am using the monk sugar. And a lot of people, this is optional, but I like to put the sugar in my dough. I'm using the monk sweetener, and this is a little bit healthier alternative for sugar. It's all natural, non-GMO, 0 net carbs, 0 glycemic, 0 calories. It's actually good for those who are on a keto-friendly diet, so you can use that. It doesn't raise your blood sugars and things like that. That's why we use it, and it's all natural. And we want a tablespoon of salt, and I'm using the pink Himalayan salt. And we want to use 1 stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup, and you want your butter to be really cold, so preferably have it in the freezer. But all you want to do is just cut up little chunks and place it throughout your mixture here. Okay. And last thing we're going to need is our water. Water is sometimes a little tricky. So you want ice cold water. I have some ice cold water here. You want about 5 or 6, depends. I'm start off with 4 tablespoons of water because sometimes my water varies. 2, 3. Try not to get the ice in here, but I wanted it to be good and cold. 3 1/2. Trying to get this without getting the ice, so let me just do it this way. Okay. So we put 4 1/2 tablespoons of water in here, and hopefully that's enough. We're going to put this on our dough setting. And we want it to start to bead up, and then once it beads up, we want it to come together and clump. So it is beating. We're just going to give it a moment till it starts taking form here. And we may need another. Get a little water. Yeah, you see it beating up really good. That's what we want. Put another tablespoon in here. Okay. It's getting there. Maybe 1 more would do the trick. All right. Let's see. That did the trick. So it's starting to dough up. We don't want to overwork the dough, so just let it come together real nicely. Pulls everything from the side. Okay. You should be able to form it together. See how that comes together real nicely? So that's all done. So we'll take that out and just pick up the rest of our dough ball here. So that was what, about 5 tablespoons of water? Between 5 and 7, you know, it just depends on your dough. So I think this was 6 tablespoons of water that I put in here. So this was perfect. So we got a nice dough ball. What we're gonna do is put this in our refrigerator and let this rest. But I've already had one prepared, which we'll grab that one. And this one's being stored. Okay. So this one we've already had in the refrigerator. So now we're going to start preparing our crust for the bottom layer of our pie crust for our pie dish. And we want to make sure we have a nice clean surface, which this has already been prepped. Okay, and we're going to move this baby out of the way for now. Okay. And we're going to need our rolling pan. Okay. And make sure there's no water. Okay. Just get a little flour going on here. May need a little more. So what we want to do actually is cut our dough down the middle. Put a piece to the side. And then we're going to make a ball. I like to use the flour that's on here so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. We're going to need more flour than that, of course. Just bring a little bit over here as we're working. Okay. So I usually try to start off with a nice circle. And then with my rolling pin, we're just going to roll this out. And you should know if you got a nice dough, it should roll with no problem. And we're using a 9-inch pie crust. So this is plenty dough for the 9-inch. Okay. Oh yeah. This makes a nice buttery crust. Okay. And of course it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just going to layer the bottom of the dish. Okay. And then what we want to do is just get this laid down in the bottom here. Try to make it as even as possible. And make sure you push it down into the dish so it takes out all the air pockets. Okay. And just be a little gentle with it, but shouldn't tear. Okay. And then whatever excess you have, we're going to cut that off because we're going to just mix it with the other part of our crust. And we'll get it for the top. Okay. Just want to make sure it's layered down in the pie dish very well. Okay. Very easy to do. Yeah, I woke up this morning and because we are starting our cleanse on Monday and I've been on this sweet tooth kick and I'm like, oh, we can do an apple pie, another apple pie. It's 4th of July, why not? And he was like, yeah. So then it was like, dang, I should do a video. So came in here and try to prepare a video as well. So that's all you want to do is just make sure your pie dish is coated, that there's no pockets as much as possible. In your corners, just make sure you press it in really good and we'll set that aside. So we'll come back and work on our top layer when we're ready to put it on. So we're just going to put this back in our saran wrap and just keep it over here until we come back for it. The next thing we're going to do is prepare our apples. So I've had my apples soaking and a little bit of water because you know they will turn brown really quick on you. So I'm going to pour off my water. And I'm going to start these on the top of the stove. Now, I'm not going to cook them thoroughly on the top of the stove because I do want them to cook in the oven with my crust. I don't want them to be mushy, but I just want to get everything mixed down together. So I'm going to put these in my pot here on the top of the stove. And also you want to get your oven going. So I'm going to turn my oven to 425 to heat it. Okay, so that's to start heating my oven up. Alrighty, so for the apples, what we want to do here, we use white sugar and brown sugar. So for the white sugar, again, I'm using the monk sugar. For the brown sugar, I'm using the monk sugar. It's just the golden monk sugar. So they're both the same. One's just a golden, like a brown sugar, and then the white. You can use brown sugar, you can use coconut sugars, you can use whatever. I'm just using these sugars. Also, I'm going to be seasoning with ground cinnamon, some ground nutmeg, and some ground allspice. I'm also going to give it a little twist of some lime. Use lemon, you can use lime, and we want a half a tablespoon of butter. So, just as we start to caramelize our apples down, we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of butter. So what I'm going to do is just get my butter in here. I'm going to turn this on medium. And as you go through seasoning your apples, you know, I always tell people, season to your likings. If you don't like a lot of cinnamon, or you don't like a lot of nutmeg, or you don't like a lot of allspice, you know, season it to your liking. So I normally don't measure that often, but I'm going to measure today just to give you an idea of how much I'm using. So I'm going to start off with about a tablespoon of cinnamon. Love the cinnamon in our apple pies. And for the nutmeg, I think we're going to use about a fourth, not a fourth, we're going to use maybe a half a teaspoon of the nutmeg. Yeah, about a half teaspoon. And also for the ground allspice, we're going to start off with a half a teaspoon. That's for our apples there. And then for the sugar, of course, you want to use a half a cup of each, the brown sugar and the white sugar. So a cup of sugar in total. Now, you can use all white sugar, you can use all brown sugar, it's your preference. I'm just going to use a half a cup of each. And this sugar is really, it sweetens really well, so you don't need that much. I have coconut sugar, but I prefer to use the monk sugars because they're good for you, especially if you're trying to lose weight. You don't want that, it doesn't turn into, you know, the carbs and fat like the other sugars do. Okay. So that's that, and we did put in, of course, the 2 tablespoons of butter, and we don't want to forget our thickening. So you can use cornstarch or you can use flour. I'm going to use the Spelt flour. I have it out. I'm going to put in here 4 tablespoons. And as you're cooking your apples a little bit, as it starts to get liquidy and everything, because all we're trying to do is dissolve everything in the pan. Get everything kind of married together really well. And then we're going to pour it in our pie dish. So 1, 2, 3. We got a lot of apples, and you guys know apples make a lot of liquid. And so if you don't want your apple pie, when you cut it, runny, you will need to put in your flour or your cornstarch to prevent that, okay? So then all you want to do is give these things a toss. And all we're trying to do is get everything liquefied in the pot. Everything coated on the apples. Like I said, we're not going to overcook these on the stove because we want our apples to be firm when they come out in our pie. We don't want a mushy apple pie. So we're just trying to get this down in here. I'm going to actually bring you over and give you a close-up of this. But before I do, I'm going to take a half of a lime and just squirt a little bit in there. About a tablespoon of lime juice. That just gives it that little hint, because these are sweet apples. So you know, usually a lot of people use the Granny Greensmith apples and they're really bitter and tart. I'm not into the tart apples, but I do like that hint of the sour. So I like to use the Gala apples. So I use organic Gala apples, which they're really sweet, crisp apples. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of lime juice on top of it. And so all I'm doing is just letting this cook down in my pot. And then we'll be ready to pour this into our pie dish. Now, so while that's going over here, like I said, it's not going to take very long. We're going to go ahead and start rolling out our second layer of dough. Okay. So get this on here. It's really easy and it is so delicious with some vegan ice cream. Oh my gosh, I got some So Delish, no sugar added butter pecan and some vanilla bean. It's gonna be good. So my husband, of course, you guys seen, he helped me with my apples, and so he cut up so many apples. And I was like, that's way too many apples. So I have another whole dish of apples here. So I said, well, we're going to make our neighbor a pie today. So I have another one to make. That's why I had already did some of the pie shell, one of the doughs, because I have to do 2 pies today. I just like to show myself neighborly. I love my neighbors. They're good people, and we always look out for each other over here where we live, which is great. Especially in this day and time. You gotta pretty much be your brother's keeper. So, just gonna roll this one out. I wanna try to get the top one as neat as I can, because it is gonna layer the top of it. And one thing you wanna do also, that I do for the top of mine, I wanna melt just a little bit of butter. Because I like to coat the top of my pie with butter and then sprinkle some cinnamon and sugar on top. Because I like it to bake like that. So I'm just going to get a little bit of butter here. You don't need that much. Just enough to brush. So maybe just a little tablespoon of butter. Not a lot. This is a buttery pie. And you want to put this in your microwave. It can be room temperature, but you want to melt it down. So I'm just going to actually take this middle bar out first. Okay. And we're just going to let this melt down. Doesn't take long at all. Okay. And then we're just going to use that to brush the top layer of our crust. And I have a little brush here. So we'll set that over here because we'll need that. And then also, we want to take a little bit of cinnamon. And a little bit of sugar, not much. Mix this together real well. And this is what we're going to sprinkle on top of our pie crust. See? Just a little cinnamon sugar mixed together. We'll set that to the side and we'll use that with our butter. Okay. So this is going to be pretty big to cover the top of our pie. Make sure it's not sticking here. Okay, so that's fine. We'll leave that there. All right, so for our apples, we're almost ready to go. All I did was kind of cook down the butter, get everything kind of wet in here. Got our sugars melted, our flours dissolved. Our apples are coated really, really well. That way, as they start to cook in the oven, they will not be watery. That's why it's important to put that flour in those apples. Okay. Like I said, real quick. Real quick, in and out. I'll use this one. Okay. Let me move this over. All right. So if you guys can see, I want you to see the apples up close. I didn't cook them down. I just let everything coat really well on the apples. That's all we wanted to do. We didn't want to cook them down. We just wanted to get everything in here. So then the next thing, we're just going to pour it all into our dish. That way, as these apples start to cook, they're going to release a lot of water. Because we know apples hold a lot of water. And we just want to make sure that they're not going to be super runny while it's cooking. Okay? So that's all we need to do with that. Just make sure everything's down in here good. Make sure you got enough apples. Kind of just layer them in a way. Okay, make sure it's kind of evenly in there. Just off my hands. Okay. Looks pretty good to me, but I just want to get these apples just a little flatter in here. Yeah. Like I said, they look dry, but these apples are going to start to cook and they're going to release a lot of water. Okay, so that's all we're going to do with that. The next thing we're going to do is put our top layer on here. Just kind of get this cleaned a little bit around here before we put our top one on. Okay. Alrighty then. So then we're going to get our top layer on. Just lay it over. Okay. And this is where you can be creative with your, so kind of get it down in here good. And then we'll kind of be a little creative on the top. We want to make sure it's down on here first, really good. Okay. All right. So, as you see, they will normally pinch the sides. This is not my favorite part. I think I needed a little bit more dough on this side here. It's a little thinner. Just something, you know, it don't have to be perfect. But, you know, just try to make some type of formation. I'm going to try to pinch it. And we'll cut off the excess. And fill in where we need, because it's kind of thin in certain spots here. fill in. Get hot. Okay. Okay. Some of the little pieces were thin on this side. Got more crust on this side than that side. It's not the prettiest decorations. I'm not a decorator, but as long as it tastes good, right? And when it cooks, you're not gonna be able to really tell anyway. When it starts to cook, we just want to give it some type of formation at the top here. Just a little something. Tell y'all, this part right here, not so much. I should have scooted it over just a little bit more, and I wouldn't have been having this issue. It was a little thicker on this side, but once this bakes together, who's gonna know? Well, you will know because you see it, but anywho. Okay. Just filling in these little spaces that need filling in. We can go back and clean up the decorations of it in a minute. Just want to make sure we get it. Okay. Be like, girl, don't quit your day job. Yes, I am not a decorator, but I love to cook. So, once it bakes, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be all right. Okay, just filling in some little spots. Okay. And we just want to make sure we cut off any pieces of the edge, and we can use that dough, you know, to fill in. So just kind of go around your dish because we don't want that to burn, hanging over. So just get all of that extra dough cut off there. Okay. Like I said, just make sure there's no extra dough leaning over because you don't want that to burn. And so we have little extra pieces, so of course just ball it out. And if you need to fill in, fill in. Most of mine is pretty good now. It's pretty much filled in, but little spaces where it's kind of thin. In there. Okay. And a couple of big pieces on this side. Let's say, once it's all cooked together, you're not going to be able to see that anyway. Just where it looks like it may be thin. Okay. All right. Sometimes my problem is I want to always rush because I feel like I'm rushing and I'm on, but sometimes things take time. So we shouldn't always feel like we have to rush. Okay. So what we want to do next is put some slits in the top so it can have some vents. here's our knife. So we're just gonna do a few air vents here. Okay. And for the final touch, of course, one moment. I'm hot. Okay. For the final touch, this is where we're going to use our butter. Just do a little bit of butter on the top of this. Look at that. Okay, and just kind of go around the edges a little bit. Just brush some of that butter on there. Okay. And then last but not least, we're going to take our cinnamon and sugar mixture. Just pinch, little pinch. Take little pinches. Try to just do it evenly across the pie. The top of the pie crust will have that cinnamon, sugary taste. I say pinch it on there because you don't want to clunk it in one area. Just get it on there. And there you have it, our apple pie. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but the cinnamon and everything is just lightly coated on the top. And we got our pie crust evenly around the pie. Like I said, decoration wise, not that great, but then we're gonna put this in the oven. It's gonna bake for probably a good 40 minutes, but you wanna check your oven, check your crust, make sure. But about 40 minutes, the last time I cooked the pie, it was about 40 minutes, but you just keep checking your oven. And you want to make sure your crust is good and done, you know, crispy, flaky. So we're going to put this in here. It's on a 425, and I think this was 375. I let it heat to 425, but I'm taking it down to 375. And I'm going to bake it for I'm going to put mine on 35 minutes. I'll check it. So let me make sure my time went back down to 375. Change it. So yeah, so I got on 375 for 35 minutes. I'll check my crust, but you don't want to keep it that hot. You just want it to heat your oven up so it'll be ready to cook. So we'll wait and see what that looks like when it comes out. Let it cool, and hopefully we cut into it. It'll be a great apple pie. All right, guys. So we have completed our apple pie. Yum, yum, yum. So I did bake it for about 35 minutes in the oven. Started to brown, so I took it out. It's been sitting for probably an hour or so since we did breakfast, and so now we're going to go ahead and cut into it. But before we do, I just want to give you a look at the apple pie. Crust looks brown on the inside. Looks delicious. So let's cut into it and let's see. So since my husband was helping me all morning with this pie, I want him to come over and help me also in the kitchen. So Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Can I have your assistance, please?
Yes, you may.
All right, come on over here. So we're going to cut into this pie.
All right. Let's test it out
and we're
here.
going to see what we got here. So you want the honors to cutting the pie, or you want me to cut the pie?
Go ahead. You go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Cut it.
So we're going to see what this pie tastes like. So it's had a time to cool off. Well, the crust is really flaky. Starting to break off here. Smells like apple pie.
Looks Looks like apple pie.
Looks like apple pie. All right, so I don't have a pie thing, so I'm gonna use this because you know that crust is kind of down on here. Hold on. I really don't want to tear it up. I hate getting the first piece out. That's why I told you to come over.
That's fine. Just get it on out there, baby. Let's check it out.
Okay, hold on. Let me just take it.
It ain't gotta be all.
Well, because the crust is over this.
Right.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
See what we got here.
A couple of apples came off of there. So, as you can see, it's nice and gooey.
Just stop.
No, that's fine.
You sure?
This is Saturday morning, real life. Okay, so go and get the camera. I want them to see down in here. I'm going to just take it up so y'all can see. Look at this. It tastes good. See how the pie? Can y'all see that? Hopefully you can. Okay. And now it's time for tasting. It looks delicious. Let's see what it tastes like.
Good.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Tastes
So,
good.
my grandbabies are in here today, so I want them to try it. So,
Is that apple
Ariana,
Yeah.
you want to try the apple pie?
Sure.
Come here, Chase, Mr. Noisemaker. Here, I want you to try a piece. You want me to cut it?
Come on.
Let everybody see who makes all the noise in the background. Oh, you say no. You don't want none? So he's a picky eater, y'all.
Yes, he is.
But this is Chase. Come here. This is my little noise maker. So it's Saturday morning. He's downstairs. He just had his oatmeal. It was brunch now. So we are making a video, and he's like, okay, you cutting into my time, Emo, huh?
It's brunch at what?
Give me a kiss.
4:30?
Give me a kiss. All right. Love you. But we got to finish the video, okay? Say hi, everybody. Can you wave? Say hi. You gonna say hello? All right. There. All right, guys. So what do you think about the apple pie?
It's great.
Good.
It's good. Good God Almighty. All right. So, guys, I want you to try the apple pie. It looks good. I know it tastes good because I've made it several times before. But if you try it and you like it, you know what to do. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. And, of course, share this video. Share it with people that you may think may want the video. And, of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already subscribed.
Yes, subscribe.
Subscribe. Yes, thank you. So from Cassandra's Kitchen into yours. Until next time, be blessed. Bye-bye now.